So, there's a very huge dearth of expertise to design streets, and I'm sure slowly, like we've seen it evolve, and a lot of streets being developed over last 5-10 years, and we hope to see more. So, on that note, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Ruchita Rana, who is an architect, urban designer. Ruchita, I know her since CEPT master's days. She has done her undergraduation from MS University, Baroda, and then she came to CEPT University for her master's in urban design. Ever since, she worked with Professor Aniket Bhagwat. She worked with HCP DPM for Sabarmati Riverfront project. She has also gathered 12 years of experience and working with Oasis Design Inc. And with her association, she's worked with a lot of urban revitalization projects, lakefronts, TOD townships. Uh, Again, a lot of her work has been implemented on ground. A lot of good streets that you see in Pune. So Ruchita and team is involved there, and we'll get to see a lot of insights from her today. She has been conducting and pursuing research and applying her research inputs on a lot of sustainability and eco-sensitive urban design initiatives. She has also worked with ITDP recently for a lot of profound projects revolving around street design, public spaces. Uh, Again, NMT master plans for across 3 towns in Tamil Nadu. So huge, body of work, and a good friend, Ruchita. I welcome you for this informal talks. Over to you, Ruchita.
Thank you, Vidisha. Thank you, Sandeep, for such a extensive introduction. So yeah, Sandeep is my senior, and we are also in good terms. Like, we also share a lot of thoughts together, and we've conducted a few workshops together. So hello guys, I'm Ruchita, like it's already been introduced, and I have been asked to talk about streetscape. Streetscape in itself is a very big, topic in itself, and there's a large scale intervention and there are small scale intervention to the implementation part of it. So I have limited my presentation to a role of urban designer in it, and also streetscape, as when we go down to getting it implemented, what are the problems and how do we actually get to implement these kind of public projects on ground. So I would be quickly running you through some slides and also orienting you towards JM Road and picking just few pockets that we have designed and what went while designing that. And then maybe we can have a question answer session where we can have some kind of a discussion as to what else is required. Yeah? I'll just share my screen. Yeah, so basically we all are urban designers and architects, and we are here to design cities for people. And cities have the capacity of providing something for everybody, only because and only when they are created by everybody. So we have been told that yes, we are supposed to design cities, design for people, but actually we are here only to facilitate them. We really can't design anything. It's all about understanding, being sensitive to their needs, and then coordinating and putting it all to come up with a solution or a very basic thing of giving them a continuous walking and cycling path. There's nothing else, but it's one of the most complicated things to design in the public realm. So Oasis, actually I've been with Oasis for past 12 years, and we have worked on different scales. We have combined mobility, water, sustainability to work in the realm of streetscapes, urban parks, waterfront. So you name it, like any public project, and we have done it. So every project is different. We have done streetscapes in like around 10 cities now, but even if there are similar problems, the solutions are all different. So I will just run you quickly through. One more thing, I'm not getting into that whole debate of we don't need cars and we need walking and cycling, because I am assuming all of us are on the same pace and we all believe that we need sustainable eco mobility, that is walking and cycling. And so I'm not getting into that part at all as to why we need walking and cycling, because I'm assuming that we all believe that we need to have streets not just for cars but for walking and cycling. So streets actually form the image of a city, and streets reflect how a city treats its people. So right now I put a JM Road picture. So we have been doing these kind of presentations for past 12 years. And so just recently JM Road has actually come up. Before this, we would put pictures of Singapore and Hong Kong and Manhattan, and we would say streets form the image of the city. But now that we've got our very own JM Road, and it's actually become an identity. So even if you see it anywhere, oh, this is Pune and this is JM Road. So we have seen things transform, and we really now believe that streets form image of a city. You design a building, you design a park. Other than the landmarks, you don't really correlate to a city. It's only the streets, because the first thing you land in a city is you always hit the street. So that's the memory that you have. Jaipur, if you go to the chopper, so that's the memory of Jaipur. Somebody tells you Jaipur, it quickly comes to your mind, oh, Jaipur, those 9 grid pattern streets and stuff. So streets actually form image of the city. And streets actually is a big topic. It is, if I want to open up, I can open up from a network planning aspect, from what should be the block size and how the streets, what should be the distance of the streets that come in. They are mobility corridors, they are utility corridors, because they are easily accessible. And most of all, they are one of the largest platform for human interaction. Nobody needs a ticket or nobody needs to buy something to be in a street. It is open for all. It doesn't have any gender specific restrictions or any kind of economically people can't be here. So it's one of the largest continuous open space that we get to design, which is a big thing, though it is linear, but that's the whole dynamics of streets. So I will not touch upon that, we need network planning, because that it's a different scale altogether. I will just touch upon the livability aspect of streets. The transport will happen, everything will happen. So the whole point is what we as urban designers are supposed to do. The transport guy will come and he will say, okay, I need so many traffic lanes, I need this width, that width. But what is a role of an urban designer? A role of an urban designer is to ensure the streets have the livability, have the placemaking aspect, have that aspect to create a memory, to create a picture in your mind. That is why I am here. I am not here to ensure that there is no traffic jam. I am not here to see if the utilities. I am there, but my main idea and my main aspect is how livable can these streets be. So I will just touch upon that part. So before getting into, so there are some non-negotiable points we always have, So every city has different character, every city has different challenges, but there are few things which are non-negotiable. One is the equitable distribution of road space. This is one of the most important factor, because every time we go to any city, we are told there is no space on the road, and in fact we are wanting more traffic lanes, and why have you come, and who will cycle and who will walk. So ensuring equitable distribution of road space is very important, and for that we really need to question the traffic lane, the widths. We need to also question the IRC guidelines. We have guidelines, but we really need to question all of this, so we ensure that there is equitable distribution of road space, universal accessibility, continuous one-level footpath, shaded walkways, street side plazas with seatings, segregated cycle track wherever the road widths are wherever it's possible, and vendor spaces. So these are your non-negotiables. So as I will explain JM Road, how we actually thought to get these non-negotiables on ground. And this is what we did. We did not do anything else. And that's how the whole project has come up. So coming to the JM Road story. So this is broadly, it's a Pune Streetscape program. We were appointed by the Pune Corporation to do 35.5 kilometers of roads. Some of them have been mentioned here. So if you see, JM Road is this road over here with 5 important junctions, and it's approximately, so as per DP line, so DP is the development planning line, it's 36 meters, and the total length is around 1.87. And currently it is a one-way movement traffic, and it will have a metro or pretty soon. So a broad placement of the project. Now the main spirit, you know, when we hit the site, we went and we could just see the trees. That was the main spirit of this place. So it's like every place has its spirit, and you just have to feel that. So we thought, okay, this place is only known because, or it's only there because of those trees that are there, the rain trees. So we were like, everything and anything has to happen, it has to happen with the trees around, you know, around those trees. Yeah. So now, like I told you, this is 36 meter ROW. This is one way, and still, you know, the engineers told me, madam, where is the place? You know, so I understand if it's a 15 meter ROW, so there will never be space as per the engineers or as per the bureaucrats, because the cars would always want to encroach upon it, right? So just imagine 36 meter one-way traffic, and still we were told that there is no space. And maybe we can just go with the walking, and we don't need an empty, like a cycling track, who cycles, no one cycles, and all these kind of things. So what we did was, we first started understanding, we zoomed out, we understood the character, and we saw how important is JM Road as part of the city network. So when we talk about that part to whole to part, and then we saw that it actually forms an important city level link. So it needs to have some constant speed, it has to be friction free, but it had its own local dynamic. So it was an important connector, like it was an important north-south connector. If you see over here, this road that is there. But it also had a very dynamic local character, the context. There were a lot of colleges over here in the vicinity. So a lot of college students would come here. There were a lot of eating joints, you know. Stuff like that. The edge activities were there. So there was a lot of friction between the moving traffic and people who were doing in and out from the roads that were hitting on the road. So we understood what, you know, it's like pros and cons. If we give it like a city level network and we ensure the speeds are like high speed, like a city's, like how it needs to happen for the city level movement. But then there was this friction of the local movement. So there was always this conflict. What is standard? So as per standard, if it is a arterial, so it was an arterial road. It is, and it's supposed to be 50 kilometers per hour. And that high speed would be really unsafe for the pedestrians. And so as per MOUD guidelines, if we go, it's supposed to be planned as a 50 kilometer per hour speed. And that's it, you know, the guidelines don't see what is the context, you know, what is there on the ground, what are the kind of shops and edge, what is the present condition. So then our role comes into play, because they would be very happy to actually have 4 lanes over there and have 50 kilometers per hour traffic, and they would have nailed it. So it is we urban designers, we need to hold on to the sense of place, and rest will keep happening. You know, the transport guy will come and do its job, the utility guy will, but we as designers have to really hold on to this and fight for it. You know, it's okay, even if it is required. As per context, that's not possible. So after understanding the character and due to the existing bustling local commercial activities, we needed a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. So that's the first thing when we see a road, we say, okay, what is the required speed? And then after that, we start giving recommendations so that we say, okay, we don't need high speeds. And how do we maintain that speeds are 30 kilometers per hour? So that's how the whole process starts. So we tried identifying what are the issues. So previously, actually, what was the thing was this was two-way traffic. And then due to some planning, some transport planning decisions, it was reorganized and JM Road, FC Road. So it's a whole loop. So JM Road became one way and the FC Road became the other way. So that is why you see it's like 36-meter ROW and still it is one way. So if you see the kind of tar space over here is huge. And the problem here is not traffic jam, the problem here is high speeding because there's so much of space, people just speed. That was one of the major issues, unoptimized carriageway, and we questioned that. Why so? So we had 14 to 15 meters available, and we obviously the trees were our factors. So we said, okay, between the trees, how much ever you want, you can take it, but trees have to be kept intact. Then there was this whole proposal of segregated BRT. So we were told that there will be a BRT that will come in. So 2 lanes will go for vehicular and 2 lanes will go for the BRT. So we had nothing against public transport. We are really happy to have public transport. But then this place this road did not have the capacity to have a BRT because of the trees that came in. So we just had 14, 15 meters. And if we gave a BRT, we needed a service lane. So we actually went and we did a lot of studies and all. And we did a rerouting plan for BRT and convinced the authorities that this place, if we have BRT, then we will have to cut all the trees. And that was something which we did not want. So we made presentations, though it was not in our scope of work. We went ahead and got some rerouting done and got permissions not to have BRT over here, and then the whole thing changed. So the final section looked like that. So if you see the existing road section just talks about, the top one actually just talks about carriageways, parking, and some level of walking, but it again would get encroached by parking. And we actually introduced both sides cycle track and we had walking. So we made it equitable distribution of road space with both sides of cycle track because we thought we could accommodate that. But for that, what we needed to do was the 4 lanes of tar had to become 3 lanes of tar. Again, that was like a very big issue. So touching the tar line is a very big issue. Wherever we go, it's like even if you get a permission from the commissioner, the contractor or on-site contractor will tell you, okay, you really want to break the tar. Why? I think we should include one more lane and have the tar. So, that is the mindset of people. So, okay, we said, fine. So, you can't design for it all in one go. You have a vision in your mind, but you will just design for present. You can't say, no, I have planned that there has to be 2 lane of cycle track and I will go for it. Your project will get stalled. It's a public project. There's so many stakeholders. You don't even know who your stakeholders are. So we said, fine, let's have a cycle track on one side. And once we get a win-win situation, maybe, phase 2, we could have a cycle track on the other side. Maybe people will come up and tell us that, oh, please give us a cycle track on the other side. We want it like that. So you plan for the whole section, but you can never implement the whole project in one go. It has to happen in phases. And because you will not be there in the project, you may be like, you would be there in the project for 2 years and then what happens? So you have to build ecosystems. You have to leave some kind of traces behind you that there are people who fight and who would get this implemented. So then we had a lot of NGOs and research, and we had ITDP coming in, and a lot of people who then we had discussions on table, and then we all agreed to it. The phase 2 can happen later, and in the phase 1 we have a cycle track on one side. So then how do we ensure controlling the speed? So we actually gave a lot of pedestrian crossings, tabletop crossings. We gave pelican signals so that at regular intervals, these people who are just zipping past could actually slow their speed. So I'll not get into the technicalities of what all is there, but generally, so this is how we actually planned it. So the yellows and the greens are talking about the different types of crossings that were proposed over here. So that was one aspect of how we actually designed for a particular speed and how we got the sections right and how we gave these kind of speed barriers. Second main issue is designing edge to edge. We are being told that you design for the whole ROW 36 meters. So, but what do you mean by 36 meters? We have been asked to do from boundary wall to boundary wall. So, as per DP line, it is supposed to be, this is supposed to be 36 meters. But as per actual, it was only 30 meter available. Because the master plan has been created, but on ground, there are a lot of buildings which are as per the old guidelines and the old rules. These only once when they redevelop will we get the complete 36 meters, which may happen in 15 years, 20 years, we don't even know. So we had to plan again for 36 meters, but we had designed for 30 meters and we got implemented for 30 meters. But so if you see, this is how the road is, and this whole thing is like a setback because they have shops and all, they have opened up their setbacks. So this probably is the setback line over here. So what interesting thing happened was once we did the quick way and this project got a very positive way, people started coming and saying, oh, please design our setbacks also. So if you see how, so this is my 30-meter line and I have demarcated the setback design by a texture change or by some kind of element placement. So there is a visual thing of, okay, this is the 30-meter and this is the 36-meter line, and still it looks seamless. So this happened because people actually wanted their fronts to look good. They wanted their fronts to have nice paved and level ground. So people, the shopkeepers actually came up and said, please take our setbacks and design it for us and make it seamless. So that's why, this became like this. So that's how you have to navigate and negotiate to get to this level. So this is like that, and now it looks like this. So the parking was pushed back and stuff like that. But there is a lack of control on setbacks of private property. Even now, so if you see these pictures, these are after we have made, and people are still parking somewhere on the footpaths. The two-wheelers are still there. So there is a big issue of encroachment and enforcement. There is lack of enforcement. That is why people are doing that. I agree. We spend so much money, and then people are parking like that. So. But I would say it is not just enforcement, it is also a psychological change which people have to understand. It is a lifestyle change. If I have a shop here and if I know there is a footpath, then I have to be more sensitive saying, I can't park here as a footpath. So it's a psychological, cultural, is a like lot of social changes that needs to happen at an individual level also. And we're assuming it will happen. People will start realizing these things then and however. So it's a very slow and ongoing process, which is not in our hand. So things will change in its own time. And a lot of public consultations happened. The engineers really went every shop to shop. They got NOC signed that, okay, we will not park in front of our shop. We will park it like somewhere else. Some parking management plans were created. Okay, if you are here, you can park here. This can be your slot. So these kind of activities also happen parallelly, which also help reduce parking on streets. And also the second issue was placing of bollards. So if you give as per standards, then all your motorcycles, everything can actually come inside. So then how do you place your bollards? Was again a major discussion that we had, because then there were people, NGOs, who were like ensuring that it has to be universally accessible and wheelchairs could go. So first we started putting bollards at 750-meter distance, because we did not want bikes to go, because leg guard, it could stop their leg guard from them. But then there were people who came and said, no, but the wheelchair guy also has to go in. So there were a lot of these kind of discussions and negotiations, and then we would create our own standards for this kind of projects. So how did we achieve this universal accessibility? So one very important thing and non-negotiable is we need one level footpath. So right now, what happens is, wherever there's a junction, wherever there is a gate, you go down and go up. So we actually went ahead, created one level footpath. Now I think most of the cities are adopting this concept and are doing it. So these are a few pictures of how we did it. And we removed bollards from cycle track because it was becoming very difficult for the cycle tracks to navigate through bollards. So it was like, if you have bollards, then cycle tracks will not come on the cycle track. And if you don't have bollards, then the two-wheelers will come. So we took a decision that it's okay, let the two-wheeler come, but at least let the cyclist also cycle on the cycle track, otherwise it will not be used. So there is always these kind of decisions that you have to take, which are correct for that moment, for that side. So maybe in some other cities, there might be different difficulties and a different solution will come out in that city. So this is how we actually go about doing the detailing of how do we put that tactile, how do we do the bollard. If you see in the bollard also, only the middle one is slightly wider for the wheelchair person, the rest are all at 750 meters. So these are the kind of details we created so that we ensure that two-wheelers don't encroach on the roads, on the footpath space. So these are few pictures of how it looks now. Cycle track, parking management, utilities, infrastructure. These are few parts of the project. So already Pune has a cycling master plan and phase 1 is implemented. PBS happens. PBS is public bike shares. So they have already had 2,000 cycles and they are saying in 2031 they would want to bring it to 25%. So GM Road, where how it falls. So we at GM Road have 50 cycles at 5 places. So they asked us that they wanted so many cycles to be placed. So we said fine. So we actually told them, okay, these are the places where you could have your PBS stands placed. So that's how we integrated with the cycling master plan proposal. And now, like I already told you, we placed bollards on the cycle track and it was really difficult for the cyclist to navigate. So then we had to remove it, so at least it was seamless for him to actually travel on these cycle tracks. There were a lot of trees, we actually meandered, we are against cutting off any trees, so we had to meander those cycle tracks, but now it's like a fun trip for them because it's that wavy kind of a trip that they have, so they enjoy it. And now these kind of activities have started happening, they have cycling races, and then they have these skateboard things. So a lot of changes have started. The phenomena of mindset change has started. Like what I told, it's a whole cultural change, phenomenal, everything. It happens slowly. It will never happen that okay, today you made a cycle track and tomorrow I want to see 100 cyclists cycling on these cycle tracks. It's not that. Even now we see 10 of them and we are so happy, okay, somebody is using it, somebody's got to, use those cycle tracks. Then we had services placed and parking was another big issue. So I have seen a lot of juries and attended a lot of seminars and kids actually, what they do is, okay, very good activity analysis is done, so much parking is there. And then in the proposal, it's all gone, all the parking is gone. I also wish, in practical life, all the parking just goes away. Like in the drawing existing and propose no parking. I don't need to design for parking, but this is not what happens. In reality, this doesn't happen. You tell your dad that don't park in front of your shop. I want to make a parklet over there. He will kick you. He will say, okay, go and do it in someone else's parking. Don't come and touch my parking. So parking is a very big issue, even in my house or in your house, everybody's house. Pune has a parking policy. Apparently, Pune is a very progressive city. It has a lot of policies in place, a lot of mechanisms where we could, fall back on. We can say, okay, there is a parking policy, we need to implement it. So those kind of systems were in place. So we also did activity analysis, not as expensive as you guys do, but putting like each and every parking and showing it in detail, and we came up with these numbers. What we did was we identified spots where we could have parking lots, or where there were already government lots which were vacant, existing lots, or there were like these bridges which could be under bridges, these kind of consolidated parking and all could be used. So we actually went and did a recce of that area. We told the government that we can augment their parking lots and use it, so we can then cater to the numbers that we have counted. So we have parking somewhere, we don't have parking somewhere, but we have not wished away parking completely. It is not possible at all. Again, there will be stakeholders and there will be stay orders, and we will not move. And one thing we were very clear that we would remove all perpendicular parking. And we would provide for mostly two-wheeler parking. Cars could actually park in the by lanes. So what happens is two-wheelers, we accommodate more people, more catchment, and cars could actually happen in the by lanes. So that was one thing we were very adamant. And yes, and although even if we are giving any car parking, we made it parallel, no perpendicular parking. So we got some amount of space. Then there were these permanent impediments which were removed and relocated, like the feeder pillars, the traffic signages which were randomly placed. So one such instance is here. So we had this, and it was relocated on the sides, and now we have a continuous, seamless footpath. So then junction design is another very important aspect. And I just rushed because I've already completed half an hour. So we had these junctions. So I will very quickly just explain one junction and what are the changes that we went for. So this is Jhansi Rani Chowk, which is like the center over here. It's called a Jhansi Rani Chowk. So if you see over here, the junction had this beautiful green, but which was not accessible. So people actually had to take a turn and go from the road. See, if you see, they had a toe wall, and completely they did not want people to actually come into this field. It's okay even if they die on those, it's fine, but you cannot come in that. So we really had a lot of stakeholder sessions. We met MLAs there because these kind of things are this thing with the MLA. So some MLA had this garden made, some MLA. So it's not just engineers. You also have to go and talk it out with the MLA. You have to explain them what is the intent of the project. And we actually, so if you see, this is how that junction looked. And this is how then finally we kind of got to do it over here. We reclaimed the square or triangle to say, and then we designed it accordingly. So this is a drawing which talks about, the black one is the existing and how we reclaimed this whole tower space and we made it a plaza. So this is how you've seen it. I'll show you. Yeah. So here we've actually had people walk in and go to the other side rather than people going from outside, which was very, very risky. So this is how it looks, and now this is how it is. We've actually broken that, and we've had people moving in, navigating in through the junction. So here. So it's a very simple thing, for you and me to like, what is it? So simple, why not just, but it's not simple because it's so many, so it's the convincing, it's how can you sell your idea? It's very important. This is another junction, Bata Chowk. So because this was a one-way road and this slip road was not required, but it was there. We kind of reclaimed that whole slip road and made it like a plaza. But nobody questioned it, Even when we were doing it, people were like, why you want to remove the tar? Let the tar be. Like, people love tar. Like, just give them tar space and they're very happy. So, see, if you see, we have actually reclaimed that whole space. We realigned the road because there were trees coming in. So, we didn't want to cut. So, accordingly, we redesigned that whole junction and the whole plaza. So, now this is how it is. We placed each and every details of cycle track, how the cycle stand will come, how the pergolas or verticals will come. And this is how it looks. So, this was how the visualization. Now, this is how it is. This is that slip road which actually connects over here. This is how the pedestrians move seamlessly. This is how the spaces where people can actually sit and while the light is red, they don't need to wait on the edge of the road and save themselves from getting hit by any car. So quick win. Now, quickly I will run you through the most interesting part of this project, that is the quick win, that's the Sambaji Park area. Now, it is very important in any project is what is that quick win, people quickly win the people around. People say, wow, something really good is coming in my road and this project is going to transform this whole thing. If you nail that, your project, half your fight is over. You can just say, okay, so see like how what we did for that area, the same thing will happen for this area. So what we did was we needed a stretch where we could wish away parking. We could just say we don't want parking. So we needed an edge which didn't have any kind of stakeholder clashes. So we took this park edge because we knew even if we remove the parking, nobody will come and question us that why have you removed the parking from in front of our shop. Because in India they think it's a birthright, and if they have bought a shop, then automatically the place in front of the shop, which is a road, becomes their property. So we took this as our sample stretch. So we removed the parking. So that was the very first thing that we did. So we needed to create a unique, innovative placemaking exercise. It had to be seamlessly connected to the immediate context, addition of many activity layers without sacrificing the non-negotiables that I've already told you, and it had to be a unique place. It had to be an identity. So this is the park area that I'm talking about. So this is how it looks. It has parking. The whole footpath is on raised level. I'll show you a picture. So this whole parking, the footpath is actually raised to 0.5 meter height, and it's actually looked like this. I know you would not be able to even imagine in your dream that what you see now and what it was. This is what it was. So our first thing was remove parking and reclaim the public right. Now what happened? The good part was there was already a multi-level parking that was near this park, and it was not being used to its capacity. So say we remove the parking, the people started parking in that multi-level automated car park, and it started getting used. And again, we could create this. After removing this, we kind of got a clear stretch. Second thing was we wanted to bring the footpath down 150 mm. That's the standard, and that's what we all should follow. It's okay. People say cars will come up. Nothing will happen. The way you design, everything can be sorted. You give a green buffer, cars will never come on your footpath and all that. So we kind of brought this down, and this is how it is. It's seamless. We can now see it from the road, and people sitting there can actually see it other way. So that was we leveled the footpath. So this was the condition when it hits the end, and this is how it is now. Just put it down. In fact, it's ulta ho gaya. It's actually because of the road level, this is how it's become. Second was then providing walking and cycling. There were the two non-negotiables we had to do. So we placed those lines, and this is what we've got. Then was the park wall. Now because we got it down, this was visible more. So we needed to have something over here so it doesn't look like a dead wall. So we started placing these kind of step seaters over here, which became an interesting sit out, which now kids come over here and sit and enjoy. And it's looking into the park also, and it's looking otherwise also. Then we started creating these pockets in between the walking and cycling. We had these kids play area. It's like an outdoor drawing room kind of feel we wanted. Like people over here are sitting. So there were different kind of interpretations of these pockets that were created. This is the snooker that we have. And so this again has another story. So there was the police station over here, and there was a chaiwala who was here, and keeping him in mind, so it's in his memory. So keeping him in mind, we said we will have a nice sit-out space so people can come and have chai, like how in Ahmedabad people have. So once the construction all started, the chai wala was pushed off and he was standing here and there. And then again, when the project was done, everything was ready. When we went to site, we said, please get that chai wala. We have created a space for him and stuff. So there were some kind of political and bureaucratic things. Some vendor issues were there. So actually, the chai wala didn't apparently come. So whenever we would go, we would pull him and tell him, "You stand over here." And but then whenever we would go back to Delhi, he would be chucked out. But we captured the soul of this place, like how in Manikchowk, you would have learned, like, Manikchowk, even Law Garden in that cases. So even if you don't give the infrastructure, because that place has something in it, it will thrive. So the place still thrived, because it had that spirit, it had that, yes, it is a place where people have to come and gather. So now actually people come and do their projects over here. You see people over here doing some craft projects, people sitting in the night and playing chess. So we gave chess tables. So the engineer told us, please don't give, people will come, bring their booze and sit over here and they will have that chakna party over here and all that. So I think there was this order to remove these chess tables, but actually people protested and people said, no, we want these spaces, we want these table chairs. So, so once that positive vibe is there, then you're not required. There are a lot of people who would stand for the project and would fight for you, would say, yes, we want these kind of places. And then last was we needed something to tie in with the wall. This Sambhaji Park wall was something which was very different, and that was the character of this area. So we actually got these kind of frames, and we said we want to bring the park out. So it is an extension of the park. So this is an extension. So this is what is happening now. So it's actually now looking like an extension of the park. And I think in some time you will not even think that there is a wall. You would just think that the park is being seamlessly connected to it. So finally, we managed to create this small place where people could play, eat, relax, work, walk. So we kind of created a magnet for this place. So this is a USP of this place, basically. So this is how it was, and this is what it has become. So when you see what it was, I think you would get the idea, the content, the fight that goes in it. So now also by doing all this, this is how this is, where we have walls and all, and slowly people have started having grills and started opening up. So what you say is this is the back side has now started becoming the front side. People want to be a part of the street. So all this we have not proposed. This has happened. So these are the transformation things that have started happening just by putting walking, cycling, and giving some beautiful spaces, organized spaces. You see this wall? So this I have not done any photomontage. This has happened actually. So earlier it was, this is the thing, and what more you could ask for. So when you go to site, when you see things like this, you are like, wow. There's nothing but someone is reading paper, somebody sitting here. So these are the kind of spaces that we want to create. So now what should be the role of your designer? If you see there's nothing designer in it, nothing designer. It's only sheer thing that you have to hold on to a vision and see it thrives. It thrives through all layers. So how do you integrate ecology, safety? There should be no boundaries, active spaces, pollution, transit-oriented development, energy and resource, save energy. So you have to have your non-negotiables and just move ahead. Our cities actually are working in silos. There are so many departments. Like this, in case of Delhi, we have Delhi Jail Board. So even in Ahmedabad, the metro guy will not talk to the engineer will not talk to the PWD. So there's whole sorts of stakeholders there. And you are the person who have been sent to actually tag them up and bring them all on the same table and put it all in the same platter. So we get something that we got in JM Road, which is no miracle. It's only sheer patience, passion, and become like an activist and say, yes, I have to do it. I need to just break break that wall and the barrier. So good planning and design, effective, efficient coordination, and stringent enforcement are the key features. And it's always a constant tug of war. You are always debating, you're always negotiating, you need to face the project. You can never design a project in one go, and you have to be very flexible. So that's it. I remember in my jury there was BB Joshi when I was in UD, and he came and he told us, you guys are the most important people in this world, because buildings come, they go, buildings break. What you are designing is the void, and that void will always be there, and you have to design that it changes with time. So that's the what do you say? That's the power of designing public realm, and that's the challenge. So working with the system while trying to change it is the only way. You can't just say I want it like that, my way. It can't be like that. So let's be the change maker. Let's not give up, and let's try to get places like JM Road, and like now, so there are a lot of public projects that have come up. So let's together try to do this. So there is no logic that can be superimposed on city. There's no logic. This works for JM Road. This may not work for Delhi. Delhi is a different story. Okay, and people will make it. And it is to them that we must plan our city. Our agenda is only to get the basics right, and the rest will happen. Yeah, so that's about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ruchita. Yeah. Thank you, Ruchita, for sharing your work, and really interesting to see a good street in India taken a shape, and a good Indian reference of street design. A lot of them are still in the process. I would take you through some questions, Ruchita, which the students have mentioned. The first one goes that there's a concept of complete streets, and there's a concept of equitable distribution of road space. Now, how are they same things, or how are they different?
I assume they are the same things. So complete street is the whole, what do you say, the overall concept. And the first thing in complete street is equitable distribution of road space, because if you don't do that, then you don't have any space left to plan for people who are walking, cycling, for vendors, and then for other things that also are part of the streets. So I would not say they are same. Complete street is like the vision, and equitable distribution of road space is a step in that achieving a complete street, basically.
Yeah, and to add to it, complete streets are also about complete utilization of road space for all users, all types of modes and users, and leaving no space on the road which is a gray area or a no man's land or a residual area. So complete edge-to-edge development of a road space. Yeah, the second question is actually focusing on the streetscape. So the question says that how do you integrate social, physical infrastructure and the local communities in streetscape, especially when you're dealing with such active streets or historic streets? How do you involve people? How do you inform people, and how do you design social spaces?
Yeah. So what happens is, so for JM Road, obviously we didn't have any agenda of doing any stakeholder meetings. So that was done by the engineers itself. And as and when things were being designed, people approached these engineers and the project management people who were there. And then they actually went ahead and had these kind of stakeholder meets. But there are a lot of projects where stakeholder meeting is a part of my curriculum, where we actually do a vision statement kind of a presentation. We send across pamphlets, we send across a word of mouth saying that we would be presenting, and we actually have a community level presentation where people come in, whoever wants to come in. It's not like mandatory, but who really want to come in can come in. we do a presentation, we say what are the visions and all, and then they come up with their points. They say, okay, there is waterlogging here, my area, there is some drainage problem here, because there are some nitty-gritties which we may not be able to capture by doing any kind of activity mapping and all, because they are staying there for past how many years, so they know their problems more. We can only see the problem from top. So then there are people who come and they tell us that this is the problem, there is some utility problem in their area. So we note it down and we incorporate those issues, and that's how we involve them. And even while we are doing, when we are on site visits, they come and meet us. We listen to their grievances and we listen to their issues, and we try to sort it out how much ever possible. We kind of get to see that they are involved in the project, because once we are gone, they are the people who would be taking care that the parking is not happening on the footpath. They have a committee. Sometimes some streets have a committee, like shopkeeper committee. So we approach them. So like in T Nagar with Chennai, what ITTP is doing, they are actually, there is a shopkeeper committee where they are actually doing community engagement. They are understanding the parking needs, and then they're providing for the same. So that's how we kind of involve these people in the project.
Okay, and sometimes it is also, some cities have resorted to engaging the local users for some activities on that street. So sometimes you get, a group of skating people, or a group of people who are senior citizens, and then allow that space to be utilized. So sometimes you need to involve people through your project. With that, I move to the third question, which revolves around segregation of cycle tracks. So in JM Road, we have observed that sometimes the cycle track is merged with the footpath. Sometimes, the parking is also at same level with a green buffer. And again, sometimes the material change is used as a means of segregation. But so how do you, we would like you to comment on the idea of segregating the cycle track on JM Road, and what challenges did you face, and what led to your design input?
So yeah, so at some part it was very simple, where like the Sambhaji Park area, where we actually had a green in between and all. But in a lot of places we didn't get that kind of a green buffer in between the cycle track and the walkway. Now, because if we go by standards, because it's a high market area, the required footpath is supposed to be 3 to 3.5 meters, but we could barely get 2 meters or 1.8 meter as a footpath area. And even cycle track area, some places we could only get 1.5 meters, where it is always suggested to have 2 meters. So now it was at some areas where we have merged it, was where we couldn't get that kind of ideal width. So if we would have segregated it by a level difference or some other means, then neither could people walk on the footpath, neither people could cycle on the cycle track. So that space would not be used. So in some places we've kind of merged it, assuming that they would be like used like a shared area. But still we have kept the material visual sense of cycle track as red only, so people know even if I am walking on a red patch, I know I am on a cycle track. So in India, actually, people are not so cautious. If I'm walking, I'm not so cautious that I'm walking on a cycle track. When you go abroad, if you are walking on a cycle track, you're shooed away. You are like, they will really run over you. So in India, that concept has not come, but we are assuming that maybe people will become more sensitive to people who are cycling, and they would start walking in footpaths, and cycle tracks would be used as cycle tracks. Right now, yes, JM Road, a lot of people are also walking in the footpath because not many cyclists use it. The network is also not in place. So we are assuming once the network is in place, and then the cycle track will be used more by the cyclists. So that was one thing. And second thing was, we were saying, okay, fine, even if the people are not using, the people who cycle regularly and who are cycling at a speed may not use this cycle track, because then they will not be able to maintain that speed. But at least for people who are not so confident cycling, for kids who want to learn cycling, they could still use these cycle tracks to learn cycling, to for people who want to have that safety factor in mind. So that's why somewhere we have segregated it, and somewhere it was not possible to segregate it because of the widths available.
I want to add to this question and the previous question, where every stakeholder, how do you involve? Like, for example, right now you mentioned about the cyclists. So I remember Pune has done some good things that whenever there is a street design project which the corporation is planning to implement, there is a technical committee clearance that they want. So in that technical committee, the designer has to present the entire stretch design with all the details, and the technical committee has representations from the cyclist group, from the pedestrian groups, from the local corporators and the local people associations, and that those representatives kind of form that committee, and they go through and they evaluate all the designs. They come back with their comments, which the designer is supposed to again work on them and then resubmit their drawings. So there is one level of filter which is kind of a voice of stakeholder, right? So there's some good initiatives that Pune Municipal Corporation has done. uh, so Ruchita, I'll move to the next question, which is again very hot cake these days, that given the COVID situation, how do you think that the streets should be redesigned? Or do you think that it one should do it for using tactical initiatives for immediate results, for short term quick economical impacts, or invest in long term permanent infrastructure?
So yeah, because of now the COVID. So in fact, even in spite of having such good public transport, most of the cities still had a lot of car traffic. And obviously, Indian cities, we also have economically weaker section who are walking and cycling, or who are using buses or metros, mostly buses. So now with the COVID thing, the public transport again has gone down the road, and it's all stalled. So walking and cycling becomes one of the most economical and the practical thing. Uh, so if you see, as per COVID planning, we have been asked to have wider footpath because of the social distancing aspects. And yes, immediate impact, they are saying to do tactical urbanism. But you know what happens in Indian mentality? Abhi COVID, even now after the lockdown, if our first lockdown was really strict, but after that, if you see, the streets are again filled with cars. People are like again on cars, and now because the public transport is not there, more cars are coming out. So tactical urbanism is good for some time, but I think this is a brilliant opportunity where government should put some investment and have wider footpaths, and places where there are no footpaths and cycle tracks, we could actually have proper infrastructure. Because tactical thing is there, yes, that's a good immediate impact, but then after some time it just dies off, and it also dies off in the memory of people. Unless you give a dedicated space which is there forever, it will pick up, and then again it will go back to the car users. So given this situation, I think government should invest infrastructure level interventions where we could have proper footpaths and cycle tracks for the long run.
Okay. Sir, are you back?
I am back.
Okay, great.
Sorry, got disconnected.
Okay.
Ruchita, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my computer got shut down. So, moving to a question in sequence of COVID only, that how do you think that urban spaces and public spaces and streets change after the post-COVID scenario? Do you anticipate there'll be major changes, or do you think that okay, there'll be a time in which again we'll recuperate back to the way original way of functioning?
So the demands will never change. In our Indian context, if you see the market demands, the markets, the vibrancies will eventually come back. But now the difference will be they will be more organized. People will be more cautious of overcrowded spaces. Even in terms of if you have vendors, so India is actually a lot of vendor markets are there, a lot of these urban spaces where we have eat out joints and all. So they would be more organized and the planning would be much better because we would not want overcrowding of areas. It would be more neater and cleaner. The hygiene factors would be taken care of, which in a lot of market areas people really don't care. So like in Chennai, there are fish markets and all that. People have again got back to the fish market, the way they are selling fishes and all. So we really need to take care that they are more organized, they are more clean, they are hygienic, and I don't think anything will happen. Slowly, people will get back to their old ways. But this is the time where we can organize these markets and have a better planning procedure. So people start following that with time.
Yeah, so even I think that there is an immediate phase which will be kind of the new normal, uh, probably a year or something. And then eventually, given the huge, sheer densities that we have in our Indian cities, we will again go back to our, old practices of using our streets. So probably there is a buffer time where, it might change few things like how you said, organized street spaces might come up. Uh, I am going to the last question from the students, and then I'll have quickly one or two from Vidisha and my side. This question revolves around the use of bollards in walkways. So one of the questions says that uh, why did you put bollards at different heights at places, and why have you introduced, like you said, you removed bollards from the cycle tracks so that there's a continuity in cycling, but then why didn't you also remove it from the pedestrian walkway zones? So these are the two questions.
So yeah, so one first point is why do we have bollards? We have bollards because we want to discourage the two-wheelers to use, or we want to discourage the car users to actually come on the footpath and start parking or start using it as a through traffic. So that is the whole role of those bollards. Now, in a lot of cities abroad, they don't even have bollards, but in India, because of our Indian mentality, we need to put bollards so that we discourage them. Now, cars obviously will not be able to come in even if I put a bollard distance as per 1.2 meter, that as per standards. But the two-wheelers can actually pass in from a bollard distance 900. From 800 to 900, I can easily take my two-wheeler from that. So now what was happening was cyclists, so when we put it on the cyclist, so we actually said that we will have bollard distancing 750 mm, sorry, so that the two-wheelers cannot, to discourage the two-wheelers to come in. But what was happening is cyclists, it was becoming difficult. So if I don't know if you have cycled or whoever asked me, when you cycle, you want to see that clear vision. The moment you see something in front of you, in the cone of your vision, you will start dangling. You can't anticipate, okay, this is the distance and I'm going to ride it right in the middle of it. So the speed would get slow and then they would not come to that speed. So especially people who want to reach their workplaces and want to maintain a certain speed, especially people who are doing cycling for exercise purpose, would not come on the cycle track because there were bollards which were placed very closely. So there was this whole thing that either we have the bollards and then the cyclist will not come in, either we remove the bollards and we'll have enforcement that the two-wheelers don't come in, but at least the cyclist will use the cycle tracks. So we went with the second option. We said it's okay, let's remove it at least from the cycle tracks. So at least the people could cycle and the two-wheelers could be tackled through enforcement and fining basically. Footpath we didn't remove because we didn't find the need to remove it. People can squeeze in from a 500 mm space also. But we had to give for the wheelchair moving people. So we, after discussion with these NGOs, like how Sandeep said, it has to be vetted through. So it had gone and it had got vetted by this NGO. who was into universal accessibility thing. And they said 900 is good enough for a wheelchair to pass. So then one slot is made 900 so the wheelchair person could pass, and others are all kept at 750. If I remove it from there, then believe you me, there is no footpath and there's no cycle track. We would have just created another traffic lane at an elevated level. So we had to have these bollards, but it's only that cycle track we removed. In terms of size, so now the bollard size ideally is supposed to be at around 750 or 600 height. But if you see, there are a lot of we had to provide bollards at the entries also. So there are a lot of entries coming in. So just imagine so many vertical bollards in your vision. It doesn't really give a good visual thing. So we said only at the main junctions we will keep it at 700 or 750 height, and the rest we would keep it at a lower height of maybe 400 or 450. So that was the standard that we followed for Pune.
Okay, so there are very very good questions, but unfortunately due to paucity of time, we won't be able to take them. I think you can drop in your questions to Vidisha, and probably both of us, Ruchita and myself, can try to address most of the relevant questions that you've asked. I'll come down to one or two last questions that Vidisha, myself, and Professor Mehnaz were also kind of wanting to ask. That how do you see the role of urban design changing from when you graduated to today, and then in future? Then what you see is our role. Uh, you can say it with reference to streets or in general in Indian scenario also.
Oh, we are in a very good time now. Well, if you guys are urban designers, like this is the best of time. You're born in the correct era, basically. So 10 years, I think Sandeep would also agree. So when I graduated urban design, there were only 2 projects in this whole country. You would say Streetscapes. Some of them were there that just happened due to that Commonwealth thing, and that only happened in Delhi. Other than Delhi, no city even and CG Road, I think. These are the 2 streetscape redevelopment projects happened. There was Sabarmati riverfront that was happening, and there was BRT that was happening. So these were the only 2 projects in terms of urban design that were there when I graduated. And a lot of my colleagues actually got into township master plan and all that. There was no smart city, there was no Amrit, there was JN and RUM, but which was more transport related projects were there, but nothing that would address urban design, for say. In fact, even when we would go out and we would say we are urban designers, people would be like, urban designers, and then we had to actually explain to them. Now you have wants, you have RFPs, that's request for proposals. You have government bodies actually taking out, EOIs for people, asking to join, asking urban designers to join. So the urban designer has come into the whole being. In my time, nobody even knew that, or very few people knew that there were urban designers or there are any urban level projects. Because people didn't think that we need to design cities. People don't think we need to design streets. We need to design roads. We need to design flyovers. But streets we don't need to design. The left out spaces are there for people to walk if they want to. But otherwise, we don't need streetscapes. And apparently now, because of Smart City and Amrit and these kind of programs that have come in, people have started realizing we need these kind of urban level interventions to have some transformative things in the city. They have started it. So now is the time to hit it. I know a lot of cities are not doing it right, but still, at least that dialogue has come in, at least the requirement has come in. Now we just have to go and attack. That's the thing. So things have changed, and they have changed for good. Now so many cities. So currently Chennai has taken out ITDP with ITDP. Greater Chennai Corporation has taken out a similar program like Pune, great mega street program. So we are 5 consultants who are part of it. We have HCP, we have Arya Consultants, we have a local Red Architecture consultant. So we have 5 consultants. We have given different packages, and we are designing Chennai Streetscape. Similarly, a lot of cities have taken out these kind of projects and are working towards that. So things have changed, and things are going in the right direction for at least urban designers at this stage.
Yeah.
You tell me, what was your experience?
Oh no, yes. Again, I belong to the similar times that you're mentioning. That when such large scale projects used to be part of your shelves. Like, they were beautiful drawings with beautiful proposals, but they were shelved, and the shelf lives was more. So if you look at the riverfront project, the first proposal I think was made in 1960s, probably, and then it evolved, and only got implemented in last 2 decades. And then the implementation itself took a lot of time because public projects were very difficult and challenging to implement. And yes, so things have changed from a lot of dimensions that we have seen and our seniors have seen, uh, to come to a point where you and I are we are discussing the nitty gritties of what to do, why to do, but for a long time, it never was a question that why do we implement? Yes, it's a good report, good project, good drawings. Let's store it when we can implement. But this is the time of implementing things. So it's a good uh, point of start for all of us in the and contribute our sensitivities towards urban design. So on that good positive hope for future, I really want to sum up this session. Thank you, Ruchita, for sharing your time and experience through your presentation. It was good to see a lot of good things that you've been involved with, and you and your team. Looking forward to many more sessions. And with that, I hand it over to Vidisha. And thank you again, Vidisha, Professor Mehnaz, and team for hosting this. Yeah, and prioritizing street design in urban design.
Thank you
Yes,
so
Vidisha.
much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Ruchita ma'am, for for this amazing talk. I'm sure that the students have taken a lot from this talk, and this is something that we keep discussing in our studios, and we keep discussing amongst ourselves. So it's really nice to see 2 people who have so much experience in this field to have a conversation and something that we could retrospect on and also use in our studio projects. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a great experience. It was really nice sharing my experience because, yeah, on ground it's really different from what we learn in our studios, and it's an amazing experience to help you guys actually. And obviously, I will. A lot of questions have come in. I'll just go through them. I'll see if I could answer them and pass it on to you, Vidisha, and I'd be helpful
Sure,
in any way.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. If you want, you can share your email ID also on the chat box so people can directly get in touch with you if they have any queries. Otherwise, I can definitely convey.
Vidisha, I think you can make note of the questions that are remaining and then put them all together in one email and then send it to Ruchita. That would be...
Yeah, sure, Mehnaz. Sure. I have them noted down, so it's just a matter of sharing. I'll do that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ruchita. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for your time.
Thank you, Mehnaz. Good to see you. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next Friday.
Okay.